The struggles continue for the Yankees as they fell to the Red Sox last night on Friday night in Boston, blowing a 3-run lead and suffering a 9-7 loss. So we're going to talk some Bronx Bombers baseball. We'll do it with the great Yankees beat writer for the New York Post, my guy Greg Joyce, who joins me now. Greg, how are you doing?
Doing all right, Dexter. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Doing a lot better than the Yankees, who have lost 23 of their last 33 games. So I got to ask you this, Greg, because you're in the clubhouse, you're around this team. Especially, you got to ask you this question after the way they lost in dramatic fashion on Friday night. What's the confidence level and the morale of the players as they try to break out of this prolonged slump?
Yeah, I mean they're kind of taking a cue from Aaron Judge and Aaron Boone, who like to be even keeled and kind of try to stay the same whether they're flying high or going through it. But you can definitely kind of see it on some guys' faces, at least on the field, after kind of after making some outs or coming. Not being able to come through in a big spot, afterwards in the clubhouse, saying all the right things about kind of trying to get out of it and still have confidence in the team. But it's been rough. I mean, when they're flying high early in the season, it seemed like they were never going to lose. And now this last 6 weeks, it seems like they're never going to win again. So it's really just been both like complete opposite ends of the spectrum here. It seems like every time they get a little bit of momentum on their side, they lose it. They keep finding crushing ways to lose. It's like they don't just lose regular games. They seem to find ways to lose in crushing fashion, especially late here. So I think that kind of makes it tougher to see a way out of it. But they did show the first 2 months what they're capable of. It's just the last 6 weeks have taken a toll on some things. And the saving grace that the Orioles have been going through it too at the same time. So they're only 2 back in the division right now, but all of a sudden the Red Sox are just a couple games back of them, and so they really they keep on talking about needing to turn it around, and the times like these show what they're made of, but they were saying that a couple of weeks ago too. So they can only say so much. They really just got to turn it around on the field and start doing it now.
Yeah, the time is now for them to start doing it. And as you mentioned, they look so good through the first 70, 72 games of the season. And Yankee fans are wondering if the team can ever get back to that. Now, speaking of getting back to right form, Nestor Cortes, he showed some frustration after he was being pulled in the 5th inning of last night's game. Cortes, he's not been sharp in his past 3 starts, Greg. What issues are you seeing with Nasty Nestor right now?
Yeah, I think it's just lacking that sharpness, hasn't had that command. For him, the fastball command is pretty important to getting into the spots where he wants to go, because it's not like he's, he doesn't have that velocity to just blow by guys. So for him, it's getting to his spots, and he hasn't been able to do that here of late. The first half of the season, going into the All-Star break, it was really just the home-road splits. Like when he was pitching at home, he looked like he was pretty strong every time out, and on the road he had some struggles. But now it's coming out of the break, it's been just a lot of kind of mediocre starts for Nestor. Just doesn't have that crispness to him, and it really just kind of falls in line with what we've seen from the rotation over this last 6 weeks. They had the last time they were here in Boston, they won the first game. They had the best rotation ERA in the game, and so since then they have the worst rotation ERA in the game. So they need Nestor to kind of get back on track here, because he can be an important piece of it when he's going right, but he just hasn't looked quite like himself here over these last couple starts.
He really hasn't. The Yankees rotation needs to get it going. As you mentioned, they have not been strong at all over the past 6 weeks. Now, talking about the Yankee offense, Greg, much has been said about the Yankees relying heavily on Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. We saw Luis Severino of the Mets say just before the recent games in the Subway Series that the Yankees had only 2 good hitters. Do you think there was some truth in that? And do you think this 2-man band narrative is fair for the Yankees? And if so, how is it affecting the team's dynamics and ability to win games going forward?
Yeah, I think Severino definitely had a point. I mean, he said it kind of in jest, like he was trash talking his former teammates, but I mean, he had a point. We saw it during that Mets series, really, where they just walked Aaron Judge 4 times that one night and didn't pay for it at all. And a lot during the stretch, it's been Aaron Judge and Juan Soto either putting the team on their back for wins, or like last night. I mean, Judge hitting a 470-foot homer and looking like it was going to lift the team, and it's still not enough. I mean, they have seen some since coming out of the All-Star break, Anthony Volpe's looked more like himself. Austin Wells, who's been, pretty much a mainstay in the cleanup spot the last little bit here. He's been hitting better, well over a month now. He's been hitting pretty well. Seems like an impact hitter. Gleyber Torres, coming out of, the last couple of weeks, looks more like himself. So they're starting to see it here and there. They need a lot more consistency out of that. They need to get Alex Verdugo back on track, who's been struggling really since last time they were here in Boston. So you see these flashes from the other guys beyond the Soto and Judge, but they need it more consistently just because, teams are going to start to kind of pitch around them if the other guys don't show that, they can be a threat behind them.
Yeah, they're going to need some other guys to step up. We will see if that happens, if the Yankees are to turn it around and get back to how they were playing earlier in the season. Okay, Greg, 2 more games against the Red Sox in this series. If any adjustments, we know we see adjustments from game to game, series to series in Major League Baseball. Are there any adjustments you expect the Yankees to make in this series if they are to try to win a series and get back on track?
Yeah, I mean, maybe bringing in a new trade acquisition here. I don't know. We'll see if it happens. Obviously the trade deadline's Tuesday, and they're expected to be active and bring at least a few players in. We'll see if anything happens this weekend or closer to that Tuesday deadline. They're going to get Giancarlo Stanton back on Monday, they hope, in Philadelphia, and they need him to be the hitter he was before he strained his hamstring. So, but really, it's just, so they have some guys coming back. They have Stanton coming back. They could get a boost from whoever they get at the trade deadline, but really, they need the guys that they already have in their clubhouse to step up. And Boone talked a lot yesterday about finishing innings on both sides of the ball. That there's been a lot of times where last night they had, and I think it was the 6th inning, they had 2nd and 3rd, no outs, didn't score. And they've had a lot of that struggles with runners in scoring position during this stretch. And also just on the pitching side too, being able to get out of innings, when there's traffic on the bases. The relievers weren't able to do that last night. Luke Weaver has been so good for them this year and struggled last night. Clay Holmes has been kind of going through it lately, and, came in with some runners on, wasn't able to pick up Weaver. So on both sides, they just haven't been able to get that big hit a lot of the times or get that big out to get out of the inning. So, they really need, regardless of who they pick up at the trade deadline, it's a lot of the heavy lifting is going to have to come from the guys that they already have in the clubhouse.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans are going to be looking to who they could get at the trade deadline and hoping for some external help. But as you said, a lot of that help might need to be internally with the guys who are already here. That is Greg Joyce, New York Post Yankees beat writer, doing a great job covering the team as they finish out their series with the Red Sox in Boston. Greg, glad you were well. Hopefully the Yankees can turn things around. We will see and what happens before the trade deadline. I will talk to you soon.
You got it. Thanks, Dexter.